Hey, honey.
Yes, Barry?
Let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. The music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa restaurants here. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. Well, this week, I'm going to have a special coronavirus COVID-19 edition of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. It was originally going to be a real estate roundtable, and I recorded that, and I had it all ready to go, but something happened. I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, we'll bring it to you in a week or two. We'll find out how things go as the week progresses in Puerto Vallarta and around the world now, won't we? Then we're going to also I'm going to include in here an interview with DIF in Puerto Vallarta. They take care of the people that need to be taken care of in Vallarta. And I thought this was going to be a very, very good episode to bring DIF into our lives. But before we get to them, how you guys doing? How is the zombie apocalypse treating you now? Yeah, it's pretty brutal. And as you know, things are changing by the minute for all of us. Anyway, we're all in this together. So let's see what's going on. Hey, I'm here to make you feel better. Really. That's why I'm doing this podcast today. Otherwise, I'd just go ahead and smoke a bowl. Anyway, here in the beautiful state of California, our Governor Newsom, he has us in a lockdown. He wants to stay home and not to go to work unless you are a necessary slave, unless you have something to do with keeping the human race going here in California. And that wouldn't be a real estate agent like me, evidently. They told me to put away my sign and sit around and do nothing. Can't help anybody. Don't show anybody in houses. Don't talk to any people. Anyway, who is necessary in California? Well, it'd be truckers, right? Grocery store clerks, anything that has to do with the grocery stores, they're all open. There is no toilet paper, but they are all open. And although I must say that the shelves are coming back, more stuff on the shelves. And I do hear rumors every once in a while about toilet paper. I don't know why anybody would need any, but whatever. What else? Auto repair shops, auto repair stores, drive-through restaurants, they're all working. Well, many of them are working, I should say. Then lots of restaurants are pushing food out the door. They're pushing food, to be delivered and stuff like that, just so that they can all keep alive. They can pay the bills, keep the lights going. Pharmacies are open. Hospitals are open, of course. Medical workers are going to work. Pot shops are open too. And, yeah. Well, wouldn't you imagine that there would be massive rioting if the marijuana dispensaries were closed down in the state of California? Plus, I got to make a couple of extra bucks. You know that. So, yeah, they're all open. And anyway, if you aren't one of those essential service providers, then they suggest you stay at home. They want you to stay at home and just shelter inside. And you can go out. You can go out and shop. You can go to the market. You can go and visit one of those essential places. You can go for a walk if you want to, as long as you keep distance of 6 feet from the other guy. So when you're walking along the bike path, you put up your fingers, hold your breath, you put up your fingers and walk past and smile, whatever. There were people wearing face masks as they're walking along too. That, very interestingly enough. Let's see here. Anyway, if you want to go to the market, you want to go to the pharmacy, you need to get your auto, your car fixed, any of those things. You can get out of the house, the pot shop too. So, but if you get stopped by a cop, now, you're driving on the road, cop asks you where you're going, you have to have an answer for the cop. So you got to either say, I'm going to the market, or I'm going to go get some weed, or whatever it is. You need to have that answer ready for that guy. Okay. Anyway, I doubt anybody will be, stopping you and pulling you over in California. But just in case, have your story ready. Okay. Also, the old folks on lockdown, they're all there. They won't let anybody in to see the old folks in some of these old folks' homes. My dad just turned 89 the other day, and unfortunately, I couldn't visit him. And I, wished him happy birthday over the telephone. But all the inmates over there, all the old folks, they're restricted to their rooms. They cannot leave their rooms. So they eat in their rooms. Their meals are served to them in the rooms. They can't go walk around the facilities. So their life is upside down. And I'm guessing that your life is upside down too. So welcome to the club. But if you're scared, let me just offer you a couple of little suggestions. First of all, stop watching the TV. That would be really good. Pick up a book, take a deep breath, and everything is going to be okay. Anyway, let's find out what's happening today in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Today, the streets of Puerto Vallarta are pretty much deserted. They are under a 5-day stay-at-home order by Enrique Alfaro, the governor of the state of Jalisco. So if you are in Puerto Vallarta right now, they aren't forcing you, but they are suggesting rather strongly that you would stay at home. All the bars are closed. All the restaurants are closed. Well, I should say most of them. Most of them are paying attention. Most of them are following the rules. The reglamento went around to the different places over the last week and a half, closing many of our favorite restaurants down one by one. First of all, they asked that if there were more than 50, if the restaurant held more than 50 people, that they had to shut down. So a lot of restaurants, what they did was they started taking out tables and spacing the chairs further apart and trying to at least prolong the season, because what's going to happen right now is the season is going to end in Puerto Vallarta. It's just, it's become a ghost town. And of course, that's because both Canada and the United States suggested to their citizens to come home. Justin Trudeau, let's see here, he asked the Canadians to all come home. And on the 22nd of March, the last flight left Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. There'll be others coming up, and I'll have in the show notes that information. By the way, if you're looking for the show notes, they're going to be pretty scarce, pretty sparse for the next day or two. But come back and take a look at them. I'll have everything that you need there, including contact information for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. So, yeah, so Justin Trudeau asked everybody to come on home. And so did President Trump, I guess, in a way. He basically closed, well, let's see here, the border between U.S. and Mexico to non-essential travel. Here's the directive from the U.S. Embassy, Mexico City, March 21st, 2020. This is a joint statement on the U.S.-Mexico joint initiative to combat COVID-19 pandemic. The United States and Mexico agree on the need for a dedicated joint effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19 virus and address the economic effects resulting from the reduced mobility along the shared border. The U.S. and Mexican governments further recognize critical services such as food, fuel, healthcare, and life-saving medicines must reach people on both sides of the border every day. Essential travel must therefore continue unimpeded during this time. In order to ensure that essential travel can continue, the United States and Mexico are also temporarily restricting all non-essential travel across its borders. This action does not prevent the United States citizens from returning home. This action does not apply to air travel. These restrictions are temporary, and they go into effect March 21st, 2020, and they will remain in effect through 11:59 p.m. on April the 20th, 2020. This decision has been coordinated with the governments of Mexico and Canada. Please see our frequently asked questions for further information on the temporary limitations of non-essential travel. And I have all that information there in the show notes. Currently in Mexico, there are less than 500 cases of the COVID-19 virus that have been reported, although I'm sure that there are many more out there that haven't been reported. They're saying the same thing about it here in the U.S. There's many more that have not been reported or have been tested for it for sure. So in Mexico, this virus has been treated a little bit differently. All these precautions had been taken in the state of Jalisco, and that was all because of the fact that the governor of Jalisco stepped in and decided that he was going to do something to stop the spread of the coronavirus in the state. Here's one of so on the 12th, he stepped in and basically told everybody, "Hey, time to break it up." And then little by little, things started to close down. So interestingly enough, things the way that they're treating the COVID virus is a little bit different in Mexico than they are in the rest of the world. AMLO, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, the president of Mexico, basically until just today, has been basically blowing it off, saying, "Hey, come on, this is not a big deal. Don't worry about it." He's been going around kissing babies and hugging people and taking pictures and shaking hands and wading through large crowds of Mexicans going out to see him at different events that he goes to. Actually, the other day, he had an event in Oaxaca where not very many people showed up, so he was probably a little bit surprised. But he's been pushing the stay open and keep on going attitude, basically taking the position that the people of Mexico will far more be hurt by not being able to work every day and not being able to feed themselves than by the flu. I mean, sorry, not the flu, but by the COVID virus. On the other hand, the governor of the state of Jalisco, where Puerto Vallarta is, took a totally different tack, and that's why all of these things started happening in Puerto Vallarta, where eventually things got closed down. They had checkpoints at all of the ports, of course, and all of the airports, and so they were taking this very, very seriously until what's happening right now, where they are on their 5-day lockdown. So we don't know what's going to be happening after the 5-day lockdown, but what we do know is that there are a lot of people that are going to need food, and they're going to need it quickly. We've talked about the fact that there are very few Mexicans who have bank accounts. These people living hand to mouth most of the time, and it won't take long before things start going south of the border. So as far as Vallarta is concerned, the supermarkets, the tiendas, the little stores around, those essential services, they're all still operating, but with the risk of the elderly getting the infection. So the baggers at the market, who are all seniors, were told to stay home. And as a result, they're not getting paid. And as a result, they won't eat. They have no income for some time. With the borders closed to all the tourists and stuff like that, well, the people need to eat. Things need to happen pretty quickly. Or people are going to get desperate. When things get desperate, things start turning ugly. Now, our friend Jimmy Pluff over at Tunnel Road Barbecue here in Puerto Vallarta, he sent out a call to action the other day about the baggers, and here's what he had to say about that. He says, "Okay, here's what I know from our neighborhood, Nicholas. All of the baggers are grouped by Colonia via the DIF program for elderly workers. So, all elderly baggers from La Comer on Federico Villa live in my neighborhood, Agua Azul. The ones from Mega in Lopez Mateos, etc., he says many of them are already running out of food. Some already have. We have 4 folks that we're going to be taking food to urgently tonight. We are working on getting a list from DIF of the names and locations of all the at-risk folks. As for anyone else who may need it, the DIF is spinning up a program for those people as well. So for now, they can go to the DIF and request a dispensa from there daily. Going forward, things may get different. If you have food donations or cash that you can either bring to my home or it can be dropped off at the DIF bodega during their hours from 9 to 4, I believe it says. If possible, send more food. We will need many more dispensas in the coming weeks. And it says, see our post on the business page for all details and info, Tunnel Road Barbecue. So anyway, I have a link to that in the show notes. And then yesterday, I saw another note from Jimmy, and he got in touch with the folks over at DIF, and he posted another plea that they really need our help. They need to feed people. So I asked Jimmy if he would come on the show and if he would talk with us right now. And so let's go right now. We're going to go by phone to Agua Azul, the Agua Azul neighborhood in Puerto Vallarta, and let's talk with Jimmy Pluff, Tunnel Road Barbecue. Hey, Jimmy, thanks for coming on.
No problem.
So tell us what's going on. Right now, I understand that the baggers, grocery store baggers, need some help, and they need some help at DIF too, yeah?
Yes. We talked to DIF this morning, and they said that there is 800 senior folks that are going to go hungry in the next, between today and next week sometime. Some of those being the baggers and the rest just being people that the DIF knows that don't have family here in Vallarta. So that's 800 people, plus they're working to identify the indigenous folks, the guys that sell stuff on the Malecon and around town and stuff, that they live hand to mouth. They're trying to identify those as well and figure out, who's going back to where they're from to get help, or who can, who can't, and who's in need. But there's a lot of people fixing to go hungry here in a hurry.
Yeah, no doubt about that. What can people do to help out?
Well, we talked to the DIF today, and they said that they're going to help us out, because that's why we weren't using PayPal before, is because last time we did it after the hurricane there, it kind of screwed up our taxes. So they've told us that they're going to give us a form that'll clear all that up, so now we can take donations directly. And they've asked us to do that because for them to take a cash donation, it's a whole administrative process. And they're operating on a half staff as well, because they've sent half their staff home. So that means the volunteers that they normally have sorting and fixing up these dispensas are not there. So they're having a lot of trouble. And plus, on top of their normal amount that they normally serve, now they've got more. They are overloaded. So they've asked us to do whatever we can. We've got a little stash of food here that people have been kind enough to bring us and donate or send us from Walmart and La Comer that deliver. We're still waiting on 2 deliveries from La Comer that have not come. I'm not sure what's going on there. We'll call them tomorrow and see what's happening. But they've asked us to help, and we're going to do everything we can.
Okay, and so also it sounds like people can then order online through La Comer as well?
Yes, they can order online through La Comer, but we're not sure why they're not delivering to us right now. I'm guessing they're either way backed up or they're out of stock of a lot of items. So if people want to send it to us directly, there's some options, but there's not a lot.
Okay.
If La Comer doesn't have food, or if Walmart doesn't have food, Walmart, what their deal is they will send whatever they can and then deduct the rest and send it back to whoever ordered. Like if you pay with a credit card online through Walmart, they basically do a charge back and send back whatever they didn't have. Like, let's say you ordered 10 bags of rice and they had 7. Well, they'll charge you for 7 and send back the rest.
Got it. So they're doing that. You can also order online through Walmart as well?
Yeah, Walmart delivers. They charge, I think it's 50 pesos to deliver. There's other sources, though. You can order item by item. You can order on Amazon. You can order on Mercado Libre, and they'll send things as well. But if people just want to send money, we'll source stuff wherever we got to get it. We'll get it in-house. That might be even an easier route to go.
Sounds like it. That way things don't get duplicated, and
I'm not worried about things getting duplicated. If we have too much rice, we have too much rice. There's no such thing right now as too much.
Okay.
The DIF has asked us, they said this may go on until the end of April. So 800 people to feed till the end of April, 800 plus people. We don't know the other number. Maybe higher, maybe less. We have no idea what the final number is going to be, but they have said if you can stockpile right now before the stores are out, stockpile all you can.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to ask is how are the stores doing? Are their shelves emptying out, or does it look okay?
Well, I've seen some pictures of Soriana and Walmart Macro Plaza, and they look pretty empty. But they're stocking regularly, so my thought process is if nothing else, we can go. I've got the motorcycle. I can go hit all these stores and see who's got stuff, and then I can pay for a bunch of it and send it in an Uber to my house or whatever we've got to do. We'll figure out how to get it. That's not the problem. It's just getting the money together to get it. And then on top of that, we could also use some more people for that Caroline Cruz lady that's doing the masks for the regional hospital and a couple other hospitals for all the healthcare providers that need them. Her and several teams of people are making masks. So she's got a separate donation thing going on for that, to donate money for materials or donate materials, donate sewing machines, people that can sew. I delivered, probably 8 batches of materials today to make masks, and then I delivered 150 masks to San Javier, who's going to sterilize them and then deliver them out to the public hospitals.
Wow, cool. All right, so I'll have a link to that as well in the show notes.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Anything else that you can think of that we need to be aware of?
Not really. I just want to reiterate: food. We need food, and as much of it as we get our hands on. Non-perishable items. I've got the list posted up on our previous post on our business page at Tunnel Road Barbecue on Facebook. And it's got a list of stuff. There's a couple of pictures. So if you're not sure what stuff is called in Spanish and you're looking for it on Mercado Libre, you can get on Mercado Libre and you can pay with a credit card. You can pay at OXXO. If anybody's got Mercado Pay, it's kind of like Amazon's own credit card thing. You can use that as well. Just pick out those items and send them to us. We will use all of it.
All right. Excellent.
I am absolutely certain what we've got now will get us through the next day or two. But then after that, we're going to be looking to source some more food. People have donated via PayPal, which is fabulous. And I want to thank all those folks that have done that. We've amassed a small little pile of pesos, which will go as far as we can make it. Anybody that's local, if you can, send it in an OXXO direct to our Bancomer, because the PayPal takes 3 to 5 days to deposit it. So when we get it, we can't use it unless we're ordering through certain websites, like Walmart. But if they don't have it, they don't have it. So with money in our bank account, we can go to different places, and we're going to talk to our wholesalers that provide dry goods for the restaurant. We're going to talk to them tomorrow and see if they've been hit. If they haven't been hit, they may have a whole pile there just sitting waiting to be sold because all the restaurants are closed.
Good point. Yeah.
So we may be able to order through them and get a big pile of stuff that we need, but it takes money. I mean, we've spent just about every peso that we had, and we're running on fumes as far as our bank account goes. So
see what we can do to charge things up and get things running again. And remember, you guys, the peso is you can get a 25 pesos to the dollar nowadays. So, your dollar goes a long way.
Good. If people are wanting to send direct to our bank account from the U.S., I know that Zoom has a pretty good exchange rate. I think it's 25.1 to 1 right now. And that will go directly into a Bancomer account. So we've got our business account information. It's all through my wife's name. We've got all of that information up on our latest post. So there's several different ways to get it to us. But we'll make that go just as far as we can because we're really worried that these folks are going to go hungry, and that's going to be the worst thing because they don't have family here. The folks that the DIF has told us about, anybody else that knows somebody who is in need, or if they're hungry, if they need some food, tell them to get in touch with us and we'll make sure they get fed. Whatever we've got, they're welcome to it. We're not holding this specifically for any one group of people. We don't want anybody to go hungry. Somebody told us about a guy that lost his job at a restaurant a week ago and he's out of food. So he came by the house today and got a big bag of food. And we told him, come back again if you need some more food. Because this is going to be ongoing.
Yeah. Do you think that it's going to, they're going to be lifting the curfew, I guess you would say, on Wednesday. What comes next after that?
I think it's going to be an enforced quarantine. That's my opinion, because nobody's doing. There's some people that are doing what they're supposed to be doing, but for the most part, everybody's just disregarding it. From what I can see, there's a party on my street last night with a full band and 100 or 150 people out in the street together. So, and I rode downtown today and there's still a couple of restaurants open. There's people walking up and down the Malecon. There's people going in and out of the hotels, Mexicans and, foreigners alike. And if you don't have to be out right now, do not go out. Please. I'm begging you. I know you think you got the right to be out or you're on vacation and why should I stay inside? You're putting yourself at risk. You're putting everybody that you come in contact with at risk. For those who don't know, most Mexicans live with their whole family in one household. So if you infect that waiter, he's going to go home and give it to his grandparents, his parents, his kids. Could all be in that same house. Our neighbors, several of our neighbors are that way. There's three, 4 generations living in one house. So if you give it to one person, they're going to go home and give it to everybody at their house.
Yeah. You're
doing more harm than good. If you think tipping them fat's going to help, it's not going to help them when there's 10 people in the house that are sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on.
So if you don't have to be out, don't be out. Please.
All right. You hear that, guys? All right. Well, all right. I'm going to have all that stuff in the show notes. And thank you again for all you're doing there. And be safe, you and Frankie, and the whole family.
Yeah, absolutely. We're taking lots of precautions with all the stuff that we're taking in before it goes in the big pile in the corner there. We're wiping it all down. And if anybody else is, taking food into their house, this is a good precaution. If you can have some latex gloves on when you're handling it, get home before you take those gloves and that mask off. Spray it with a 10-to-1 bleach solution or spray it on a paper towel and wipe everything thoroughly. Because if it's on there, that bleach will kill it. You don't know who picked up that carton of milk in the store before you did. So again, that's what we're doing. When anything comes in, we're wiping it all down, bagging it up, and sending it out clean. So we're not infecting people by doing this.
That's right. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be that guy.
No, absolutely not. I definitely don't want to be that guy.
Jimmy, you're all right, man. You're not that guy. You're the total opposite of that guy.
I try.
Thanks for everything that you're doing, man. And we'll be reaching out to you maybe next week, see how things are coming along. All right? That sound okay?
Yes, sir. And I appreciate your help getting the word out. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. Get some sleep.
That's what I'm going to do.
All right, man. Thanks, buddy. Okay, Jimmy. All right, look, did you hear what he said? Do whatever you can to help out. Really, you got to help these people out. So these are hungry people. There are going to be 800 of them. This is only the tip of the iceberg, but it is something. So if you guys have, as a matter of fact, if you have friends in Puerto Vallarta, if you guys have any Facebook friends, this is the time to reach out to them. See what you can do to help them, right? I just got off the phone with Salvador Estrada, the wheelchair guy. He's had no business. He's down to his last 500 pesos, so I'm sending him some money. So if you guys got friends down there, you might think about getting in touch with them and seeing if they need any help, okay? Let's see what we can do to help out. Anyway, after this 5-day voluntary curfew comes along and goes, we're going to have to just see what's going to happen. But until then, as you can see, paradise is on lockdown. All right. So, what's going to happen? Well, like I said, I am not a scientist. I am not a statistician. I'm not a doctor. I am not a virologist. I'm just a regular Joe sitting behind a microphone. And I don't know. I'm just wondering if these things all add up. And I've been doing a little research, I got to tell you. And I've got something that I'd like to share with you. Maybe it'll help you cope with what's going on. The 21st of this month, 21st of, let's do this, of March 2020, it was a bad day for the people in Italy. There were over 700 dead in one day from the COVID-19 virus. So why is Italy having such a difficult time? My niece lives in Italy. She lives in northern Italy. She just moved there with her husband and her 2 kids. He's with the Air Force. And they are in lockdown. They are now on day 13 of their lockdown. Theirs is similar to ours. They can be, if they are pulled over, they can be fined a lot of money if they are, they don't have a note, right? They print out these notes. But they're taking it very seriously right now. But why Italy? Why are they having such a hard time? Italy has, for one, it's got the oldest population in Europe. There are a lot of old people there. It also has a population of smokers. If you've ever spent any time in Italy, you would know that they do like to smoke. They like to hug, they like to kiss, that kind of thing. We've all heard all that stuff, But that's not the biggest problem Italy has. It's deeper than that. What I found that over the years, Chinese companies have purchased most of the textile and leather factories in Italy. They employ about 300,000 Chinese workers all around the country. They have direct flights to Wuhan, China, from Italy, throughout all the airports in Italy. Let me read a selection of this article here. This is from July 29th, Psychology Today. The article is titled, Made in Italy, the Cost of Cachet. Gone are the days where Italian handbags, shoes, belts, and other specialty items were produced by local Italian artisans. Instead, the reality of a label stating Made in Italy has numerous implications. On the most egregious end, it may be a product made in another country. But I also learned Made in Italy could still equate with abhorrent working conditions in Italy by hiring from a Chinese labor pool. Some immigrated legally, some smuggled illegally, while others are trafficked. In other words, they had no choice in the matter, subjected to work in the garment industry or prostitution. Part of the reason clothing manufacturers, including Gucci, Prada, and other luxury brands, can use a Made in Italy label through Chinese labor is due to the country of origin laws. Initially, Italian-owned textile manufacturing mills discovered the riches of having a workforce that labored long hours, sometimes between 24 and 36-hour non-stop, couldn't understand the culture, unaware of how to file complaints, and was willing to work for low wages, mostly under the table. Eventually, Chinese business owners invested in Italy and became proprietors, running their own mills, landing lucrative subcontracting work from major Italian brands, and employing thousands upon thousands of Chinese through a complicated network of human trafficking purportedly tied to the Chinese mafia. In 2014, an Italian artisan spoke to the investigative television journalist Sabrina Giannini. Gucci had given him a big contract, he said, but the pay was so low, 24 euros a bag, that he had subcontracted the work to a Chinese mill where employees worked 14-hour days and were paid half of what he made. When the bags made it to the stores, they were priced at between $800 and $2,000. An inspector for Gucci told Giannini that he saw no reason to ask employees about their working conditions. In Prato, one of the commercial manufacturing hubs of Tuscany, more than 50,000 Chinese are estimated to be working in the textile industry. The city itself is believed to have more than 4,000 Chinese-run clothing factories. While some are legal residents of Italy, many enter illegally through human traffickers who work like slaves in the garment industry. In March of 2013, the city of Prato opened a wide investigation to better understanding working conditions in the factories after a young Chinese worker, believed to be around 16 years old, turned up at an emergency room malnourished and severely injured after a factory machine malfunctioned. He told authorities that he worked 7 days a week for around €1 an hour, and that his shift generally began at 7 in the morning and ended at midnight. He slept in the factory, and a portion of his wages paid for the room and board. But that's not all. That's not the only thing that's plaguing Italians. I've mentioned the term economic hitman before, haven't I? Well, here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is from The Federalist, March 17, 2020, author Helen Raleigh. Iran and Italy are paying a hefty price for close ties with communist China. Iran and Italy's economies are worsening, and their people are suffering most in this Wuhan virus outbreak, all because of their leaders' short-sighted foolishness. The coronavirus that originated in Wuhan, China, is now swept through 126 countries, infected close to 170,000 people worldwide, and is responsible for more than 6,400 deaths as of March 15th. China is leading the world in the number of confirmed cases and deaths, and what many people find shocking is that Italy and Iran are second and third hardest hit in this outbreak. By any common measure, both countries should have much lower numbers, confirmed cases and deaths, because they are geographically far from the epicenter of the outbreak. The reason these two countries are suffering most outside China is mainly due to their close ties with Beijing, primarily through the One Belt, One Road initiative, the OBOR. The OBOR, or the One Belt, One Road, is Beijing's foreign policy play disguised as an infrastructure investment, and here's how it works. China and Country X agree to do an infrastructure project in Country X. Country X has to borrow from China to finance the project. Contract is always awarded to Chinese companies, which then bring supplies and Chinese employees to Country X to build the project. Clearly, the country that benefits most from this initiative is China. The One Bridge, One Road initiative provides new markets that consist of demand for China's goods and services and creates employment opportunities for Chinese workers and gives China access to strategically important locations and natural resources. Beijing's real objective is to leverage its newly gained financial power to greatly expand its geopolitical influence, as well as economic and military footing from Asia, Europe, and Africa. And while this initiative has worked out well for China's strategic interests, it hasn't done the same for the participating countries. At least 8 countries that signed on to the OBOR are so indebted to the Chinese that they had to hand over their strategic assets to China to offset their debt. Despite these worrisome precedents, leaders of both Italy and Iran eagerly signed up to the One Bridge, One Road initiative in 2019, hoping the red capital from the communist China would rescue their nations from economic woes, and now they're paying a price for it. The most recent political upheaval in Italy took place in May of 2018, weeks after an election. An anti-establishment group and pro-EU lawmaker failed to produce a new coalition government. The final compromise resulted in a virtually unknown law professor, Giuseppe Conte, becoming the new prime minister. Like his predecessors, Conte was unwilling to implement any real structural reform, and instead he sought an easy way out. Almost exactly a year ago, March of 2019, against the warnings from the EU and the United States, Italy became the first and only G7 country to sign on to the One Bridge, One Road initiative. As part of that deal, Italy opened an array of sectors of Chinese investment, from infrastructure to transportation, including letting Chinese state-owned companies hold a stake in 4 major Italian ports. The deal gave communist China a foothold in the heart of Europe, but Conte downplayed it as no big deal at all. Lombardy and Tuscany are 2 regions that saw the most Chinese investment. Nearly a year later, the first Wuhan coronavirus-infected case in Italy was reported in the Lombardy region on February 21st. Today, Italy is experiencing the worst coronavirus outbreak outside of China, and Lombardy is the hardest-hit region in the country. And the same thing happened in Iran, facing domestic economic and political challenges and international isolation. Iran sought China out as an ally against the United States, relying on economic ties and military cooperation with Beijing. And in 2019, they signed up to the One Bridge, One Road initiative. China sees Iran as a crucial player to the initiative because Iran's not only oil-rich, but it lies in the direct path of an ambitious 2,000-mile railroad that China wants to build, which will run from western China through Tehran and Turkey and into Europe. So today, the Iranians trace this particular outbreak either to a Chinese worker in Qom or to an Iranian businessman who traveled to China from Qom and caused the spread of the coronavirus. But religious leaders in the Iranian government were slow to take action. Religious leaders in Qom refused to cancel Friday prayers until the end of February, which allowed infected pilgrims to quickly spread the virus to other parts of the nation. And although on February 1st the Iranian government banned its airlines from flying to China, it made an exception for Mahan Air, an unofficial airline from the Islamic Republican Guard, and that is why a bunch of people in the Iranian Guard got sick, including several of the Iranian leaders. So that answers what happened in Italy, and it talks a lot about what happened in Iran. But then I found this other item here. I embedded it into the show notes. You'll have to see it. The mayor of Florence, Italy, Dario Nardella, suggested that residents hug Chinese people and encourage them in the fight against the novel coronavirus and the fight against prejudice. It is a video, shows a Chinese man with a sign asking for a hug. You'll need to see it. Okay. Anyway, let's look at today's figures in Italy, just for a quickie. Yeah? 69,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Italy, with 6,820 deaths. Now compare that to cases right now today in the United States. We have almost the same amount of confirmed cases, but only 684 deaths. There's a big difference by a factor of 10. 10 times more deaths in Italy than in the United States. Now, around the world, there are 417,042 recorded cases of the virus as of today, with a total of 18,300 deaths worldwide. Now, let's look at the flu this year. It's just about over. 2019 to 2020, the flu season saw 38 million people get the flu, 390,000 were hospitalized, and 23,000 died, including 149 cases of pediatric death. So far during the pandemic, we've seen less than 700 deaths. Worldwide cases of the flu are estimated to be between 38 to 54 million ill with the flu, about 20 million in hospitals, and about 60,000 dead. I bet you didn't know that. I also bet you didn't know that, on average, 1,100 people a day die around the world from malaria. Does anybody care? Nope. It's pretty unpopular right now to be talking about this, speak out on this subject. There's lots of pressure on social media to get in line. I get that. I'm not going to tell you guys that you should ignore the shelter-in-place orders. You need to do that because there's been a lot of money, a lot of pressure, a lot of treasure that's been expended to make this happen, to flatten the corona curve. And by all means, do what they say. I mean, it makes sense to wash your hands like a madman, right? I mean, it's okay to keep your distance, I suppose. And by all means, if you feel sick, really, just stay at home. But for goodness sake, peel yourself away from the TV set. Peel yourself away from the radio. My wife is scared to death. She cries at night. And this is so wrong. It's just so unnecessary. So go ahead. Write me. Send me your emails. Tell me you hate me. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that we need to be afraid. Tell me that, we need to just keep this going on as long as it takes. But we can't afford it. We can't. And the Mexicans, our friends, can't afford it either. Let me just put this out here. There is a grand experiment going on right now. And it's going on all over the world. And I'm not going to go deep and dark and crazy conspiracy on you here. I can save that for another day. But there is a grand experiment that's happening all around the world in millions of locations. One of them right down the street from you, and that is your local grocery store or your local convenience store or your mom and pop market, whatever you got going on over there. Because all the baggers, all the checkers, all the managers, all those shelf stockers, all of them have been working full time since the beginning of the shutdown. And today, they're still working overtime. They see more people today than they have ever seen walk through their doors in their lives, emptying their shelves, handing them cash. And let me tell you something. After all this is done, after the 15 days is over, if they haven't gotten ill, if they are not dropping like flies, then you know what? We need to go back to work. We need to go back to our daily business. Social distancing? Sure, I get that. Hand washing? Absolutely. Wiping things down? Whatever makes you feel best, okay? If you don't feel good, stay home, right? But this hysteria, it needs to stop. Now, next year, I'm sure we'll see it. There'll be the Tylenol, flu, and COVID-19 day and night sleep remedy. They'll be there. They'll have the TheraCovid, right? Not the TheraFlu, it'll be the TheraCovid. It's just around the corner. There's hundreds of people working on that. There's millions of dollars to be had. When Governor Newsom gave the shelter-in-place warning last Friday, he warned California could be seeing as many as 22 million of our 44 million in population come down with the virus. Now, to date, California has a total of 2,617 diagnosed cases. New York has the highest number of cases in the nation, with almost half of the cases at 26,430, followed by New Jersey at 3,675 diagnosed cases. In total, throughout the nation, that's 55,129 diagnosed cases of the coronavirus. So, to me, that's a sold-out crowd at Chavez Ravine over at Dodger Stadium. So y'all better start getting sick if you want this thing to work out okay, all right? So wash your hands with soap. Sing Feliz Cumpleaños for, a while you're doing it, right? Okay, I'm getting off the soapbox. In fact, give me a chance. I'm going to burn it. All right. Let's see where we are next week, okay? Stay tuned. You got no choice. Unless you hate me, just go ahead. Turn it off. Shut me down. Send me a letter. Turn me into the whoever, whatever. I'll miss you. I really will. Just stay healthy. And remember, I care for you. All right, let's get to the interview, shall we? Now, DIF of Puerto Vallarta should be on your list for donating when you come to visit Puerto Vallarta. We've talked about all kinds of places where you can donate, but this is a really cool place. It's organized and run by the wife of whoever happens to be the mayor in town, and this happens to be Candelaria Tovar de Davalos. She is the wife of the Presidencia Municipal, Mayor Arturo Davalos, and she's really something. We met her a little bit while back when I was down in October. Remember our friends Frankie and Jimmy Pluff over at Tunnel Road Barbecue? They volunteered to help them with emergency needs during that nasty flooding that they had over there during Tropical Storm Narda. And if you remember, we went on a humanitarian mission down to Tomatlan and also to the area just north of Maito in order to bring supplies down, like I said, down in October. And they were asked to be liaisons between the English-speaking community in Vallarta and the local community and DIF and this government agency. Well, they had a tour of the facility while I was down there, and I tagged along, and I was amazed at what I saw of the facility. They do so much for the people of Puerto Vallarta. They have social services there. They have legal services, family planning, nutrition, psychologists, marital counseling. They've got women's health. They've got all kinds of stuff. They've got ways to integrate people into society. They have Zumba classes. They have a therapeutic pool. I mean, there is just so much that they have over at DIF. So after the tour, I sat down with Frankie and Jimmy, and I asked them to just go over what we saw and talk a little bit about this particular institution in Puerto Vallarta. So let's go right now to right in front of Tunnel Road Barbecue, where I sat down and we talked. First of all, what is DIF? What does that stand for?
In Spanish, it means Desarrollo Integral para la Familia, and that means integral development for the families.
And normally when people think about DIF, if anybody thinks about DIF, they think about child services. So, but there's more to it than that, isn't there?
There is a lot more to it, as we've seen. They have 32 different programs in DIF here in Puerto Vallarta. It's very important to note that not all DIFs are the same. Not all of them get the same funding. Not all of them get the same president, who is the one that enforces all of these programs. Here in Puerto Vallarta, they have 32 different programs that come from legal services for very different situations. For example, they have obviously an area specialized in family violence, especially against women. There's a specialized area that also deals with sexual abuse of children, and they not only provide them with legal services, but they also provide with individual and group psychology treatment. They also have, for example, a department that deals in the same legal area that deals with marriages, that give like premarital training courses. So like how to detect, like violence. So like how to divide your cash, for example, just to have a better marriage. And in the other end, if you end up divorcing someone, they also have like divorce, not like courses, but like counseling to learn how to get a better divorce, to not just like split with your husband and never see from him again if you have children, for example, or to be more equal in that term. They also provide services, even if you're marrying a foreigner or something, they give you the same courses, they give you the same counseling. If the foreigner also wants to come because they married someone from Vallarta and they want to come and say, hey, like my partner did this or that, they help you along with contacting the embassy, for example, if there's anything else, and they act like your legal counselors for that.
Wow. That's
the important thing I think to remember and to tell people is that the DIF is open to anyone, foreigner or local. It is the doors are open, and now that we've gotten involved, they have kind of made some efforts to get us a liaison in there, somebody to kind of spot the lost gringo in the lobby, and yeah, we speak your language. Come over here, we'll talk to you. What do you need?
Interesting. All right, so in order to qualify or to benefit for example, I understand that they're delivering, did I hear 2,000 meals a day?
Not meals, not prepared meals, but it's despensas. So they provide food for them to prepare in their house, like, for example, beans and rice. And
So a despensa is like dried beans, dried rice, like a supply of something that'll last you a couple of days.
Exactly.
Non-perishables, 3 or 4 days.
Yes. They deliver 2,000 of them a day in the whole Puerto Vallarta municipality.
Wow. So it's like Meals on Wheels, kind of, except for it's not prepared.
Exactly. And yes, anybody can access that. The only thing is they have to go and ask for it. It might take you a while because the process is a little bit long. You have to go there, apply for it, and they do like an economic study to see that you actually need it. They are very, they care a lot that the people that actually need it are the ones that are getting help. They go to your house and check that, you really don't have enough money to buy your own food, for example. And then they sign you up for the program, and it depends on where you live, whether you can go get it yourself, if you're close, and if not, they will deliver it to you. They have 3 or 4 different trucks that's all they do all day long.
That's pretty impressive. Wow.
The food is coming from a lot of different sources. They can always use more, but Sam's, Costco, Soriana, several of the other big grocery store chains come through and donate every day. Even up, they drop off fresh fruit, vegetables. Sometimes there's some meats. They have a big cold storage there in the bodega that you saw. And then they have also cleaning supplies and all kinds of other things that make your life a little easier, and you can go there and get those things. On top of the despensa, they have clothes, they have shoes, they have lots of things that you might need, but they don't get as much of the clothes and shoes and some of that stuff. They get stuff that comes out of a grocery store. So a lot of it is food centric, but if people wanted to drop off clothes and shoes and school supplies, all that stuff's going to find its way to somebody that needs it. The school program, which Frankie will tell you about here in a minute, I don't think they really covered it in the tour. But they explained it to us that they supply kids to go to school, and they told us how much it costs.
It costs 3,000 pesos a year to make sure that one kid goes to school all year round. They cover their uniforms, their all the school supplies, all the books, the backpack, all the pencils, all of that, and even the transportation, whether they can be picked up by a school bus, or they will give them enough, like a card for them to show all the buses in town to get free bus passes.
Wow. Keep that in mind, you guys. I mean, everybody asks, I'd like to bring things down to donate, and they go to a lot of places, but for some reason they're not going to DIF, and it sounds to me like they're pretty accountable, right?
They are, and DIF really goes out of their way to make sure that you know where your stuff went. You leave your phone number on the bottom of the paper and an email address if you want, and they'll email you a photo of the person that received your goods holding it.
Wow.
So that guy follows the DIF around with picture, the camera guy there that you saw follows him around, takes lots of pictures, and that's part of their accountability and their transparency is they make sure everything goes to where it's most needed.
Excellent. All right. And of course they probably could use money, right? I mean, that's probably the most important thing, I think, for them.
They can also provide, if you want to donate money, there's an account, and they give you your tax thing.
Like a tax deduction letter.
Okay.
So like if you want to write it off on your taxes in the US, or you want to write it off on your taxes in Mexico, depending on where you're paying taxes, if not both, they will give you a letter for that money saying that you donated X number of pesos and to write that off, which is fantastic, really, because I think a lot of people give to a lot of organizations here, and that's not something that they do. So like a lot of the big businesses here in Vallarta that do donate to DIF, they do it for the write-off. They do it because they want to, but at the same time, the write-off factor for them, that's why I don't give to a lot of these other organizations. See the hotels giving to these little small, kind of local little, organizations. The DIF is where a Mexican is going to go first to seek that kind of help. That's what they know it's for. So get down there and see what they need. Just ask. We're going to put a list up on our Facebook of the different departments and kind of what they do. So that way you've got a list and this is my kind of pet cause. I'd like to give some money to that. It'll go there. You write that on the paper when you go and they'll make sure it goes there. Or if you just want to give to their general fund and split that up and whatnot.
So you were saying that what do you call it? The President Municipal's wife, right? What would you call her? Presidencia? What would you call her?
Her?
Yeah.
It's the first lady.
Okay, so la primera dama.
Primera dama municipal.
Okay. So tell us about her.
Well, I was very impressed the day that I met her. Because she is a really hands-on person. She works as hard as everybody else does. We were lucky enough that we went with them to deliver some goods for the disaster relief in Cabo Corrientes. And just as all of us walked in the sun and carried all these heavy bags and whatever, and we were in the mud and stuff, she was there right there at the same time. It was not for a picture opportunity or anything like that. She really did a lot of work. And having spent a little bit of time with her, I realized that she does a lot of things all day long. I was very impressed at the fact that she seems like she didn't seem tired. After we came home from that day, she also had a different event at night, and she still made it. Because she has her work as the DIF president, but she's also the mayor's wife, so she has to be at those events. She still somehow managed to do it.
I guess that building that's got all of that new building over in DIF that's got the pool and the therapeutic, all the therapy and all of this.
Their rehabilitation.
Physical therapy. That's something that was her project, right?
It's called the URR.
Yes, this is her pet project. She just opened it 2 years ago, and she was the one that had to go knock on all the hotels' doors and all the big spenders so they could donate money in order for DIF to build this. This is the very first regional facility, so it means that it is the only one in the region that has, for example, the pool, the only one in the region that has all of this equipment, that has, for example, the sensory room for autistic kids and stuff like that. There's only 2 in all of Jalisco, one in Guadalajara and one here. So it's very impressive what they're doing. We heard that they also want to build eventually, because they don't have the funding yet, but they are working on getting it, an audiometry room.
For hearing tests.
Hearing tests.
I'm not even sure what an audiologist.
An audiologist, yeah.
Office.
Yeah.
So that they can do hearing tests and provide hearing aids to low-income families that otherwise wouldn't have access.
Incredible. Wow. All right. And the nice thing, and like you both said, they are accountable. What you bring there, you can assign to go where you want it to go, or you can watch where it went, and they will follow up, and you can see your donation in somebody's hand at the end of the day.
There are some very hardworking individuals in that place, and I gotta say, Candelaria is probably one of the most hardworking. The first lady is probably one of the most hardworking individuals I saw while I was there. That lady she just has a ball of energy, and she's very determined to do what she does. I have a lot of faith in her. I'm not normally used to seeing people inspired by government officials here.
No, for me as a Mexican, I grew up with knowing that the government is corrupt. I grew up with knowing that our governors not always have our best interest in mind. And to me, it was culturally shocking because I never thought that I would see something like that from the government. That's why I encouraged Jim for us to be working with them, because I can see where the things go. I can see that in this case, they really do care about the families and the older women that, for example, with their women programs, in order for them to get some job from their own homes and to make their lives a little bit better, to help their family. It's just incredible. They are really providing a lot of help for a lot of people.
Yeah. A lot of people kind of have the idea that you can give money to people here and it makes their life better, tip a little better, give a little more when you go to the, wherever, or, you see somebody with their hand out. No. Go down to DIF and give that money to DIF, because DIF is going to improve their life permanently. That 10 pesos, that 20 pesos you put on the plate as you left the restaurant, yeah, it's cool. Tip, by all means, leave the propina. But if you've got that extra that you feel like you need to dump off and help some people, DIF is absolutely the place to do it, because they're able to change lives for the better. They're going to educate people. They're going to get people healthy. They've got a nutrologist in there, or a nutritionist in there that, helps people that have diabetes, high blood pressure. He tells you how to eat. Some of these people don't benefit from the education that we are really spoiled to have in North America, or the U.S. and Canada. We don't. We kind of take that for granted down here. Coke is like water here. So there's a very high obesity rate and a very high rate of diabetes. And, well, it might just be because nobody ever told you that Coke will screw your, innards up. So they provide some of that stuff and improve lives in so many ways. And it's so inspiring to see that. And it's so unexpected. So definitely go down there and drop some money off for those guys. They're doing a lot of good.
And take a tour when Jimmy and Frankie are doing that. Check out the Facebook page. I'll have a link to it in the show notes. And like the page so that you will get all the information whenever it's posted. It'll show up on your timeline. So, gosh, I just want to thank you both for offering to say, you said, hey, Barry, let's go take a tour of DIF. Let's go check it out. This is really special. And so I'm glad to see that you both are involved in this too. I think that Vallarta is pretty lucky to have you both.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. We really care for all our neighbors and all the people that are not as lucky as we are. We really do it for them. I do think that there's a much better way to help people than just handing them like something for the day, Like if we can educate them, we can change their lives permanently, as Jim said. And this is one of the biggest things of why we want to work with them.
Excellent. All right, Jimmy, Frankie, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Frankie. Thank you, Jimmy. You two are just so wonderful, what you're doing right there for the less fortunate. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to you both. And now it's time for all of us, right, to pitch in, right? When you bring items, we go down to Mexico, we go down to Puerto Vallarta, put DIF on your list. And I have all the contact information in the show notes. And right now, more than ever, our friends in Puerto Vallarta, they need your help. So stop what you're doing, send some money down. It's only, it's about 25 pesos to the dollar right now. So it's a good time to be sending them some money. I have links, all the links that you need in the show notes. Go there right now. Just go to your Facebook right now. Go to Tunnel Road Barbecue. Check out their posts, get their information, and just double check. Make sure that, hey, just remember, make sure that this is the right Tunnel Road Barbecue. Make sure you don't have some spoof on their page. So you can go ahead and check out my show notes if you like to. Just give me a day. I'll make sure I get them all up there. All right? Okay. That should do it for this week. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant and excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. Remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com, that's JR's website, and reserve your tour through him, right from his website. Remember, this is a value for value proposition, my friends. His experience and his on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. And thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else, so just do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. Don't forget, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board, more, and I have links to all of those in the show notes as well. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time, subscribe, and give me a good review on iTunes if you would. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create, but if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I've got links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures and more, right there in the blog post and in the show notes of each episode of the show, so check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right. Hey, thank you, Jimmy Pluff. Thank you, Frankie. You both are wonderful human beings. Hey, make sure that when this all blows over, get over there to Tunnel Road Barbecue. It's killer food. The owners are the nicest, right? And hey, make sure that you visit DIF next time you come to Puerto Vallarta. They really need your help. Don't forget your pesos, and make sure that you get your pesos out to your friends and all the locals that you know. And hey, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino eterno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. De Puerto Vallarta.